At dinner, my girlfriend smiled, placed her hand gently on her stomach, and said the words that should have changed my life forever. "I'm pregnant." For a second, the entire room froze. Forks clinked against plates. My mom gasped. My dad's eyes went wide with shock and joy. And then, before I could even process what she had just said, my brother slammed his fork down on the table. The sound cut through the silence like a gunshot. Everyone turned to look at him, confused. His face was pale. His eyes darted toward me, then back at her, then down at his plate. He opened his mouth as if to say something, then shut it again, his jaw tight. And in that moment, a pit formed in my stomach. Why would he react like that? Why couldn't he even look me in the eye? That was the night my whole world began to unravel, though at the time, I didn't know just how deep the cracks went. To understand how we got there, you need to know the story behind it, the story of us, of my family, of the trust I thought I had, and how one dinner changed everything. I met her 2 years earlier at a friend's barbecue. It wasn't anything fancy, just a backyard cookout with too much beer and not enough chairs. But when she walked in wearing that summer dress, smiling like she owned the sunlight, I swear the whole place tilted. We started talking near the cooler, trading jokes, complaining about the heat, and before I knew it, we were the only two people in the world. She was sharp, funny, confident, the kind of woman who asked questions and really listened, who laughed, with her whole body, who made you feel like maybe life could be more than work and bills and routine. I was hooked from the start. We started seeing each other regularly, coffee dates, late-night drives, movies on the couch. The chemistry was instant, the comfort real. My friends teased me that I was a goner, and they were right. I fell hard, and I didn't care who knew it. Within months, she was part of the family. She came to dinners, helped my mom in the kitchen, laughed at my dad's old jokes. My parents adored her. Even my brother, who was usually skeptical of anyone I dated, seemed to warm up to her quickly. He'd crack jokes with her, talk music and movies, sometimes even text her memes when we were all hanging out. At the time, I thought nothing of it. I was just glad they got along. After all, what more could a guy want than for his girlfriend and his family to click? But, looking back, there were things I should have noticed. Moments too small to register then, but glaring now, like the way she'd sometimes light up when he entered the room, or the way he'd nudge her shoulder when no one was watching too closely. Harmless, I told myself, just playful banter. And yet, part of me must have known. Something was off because I remember once asking her casually, "You and my brother get along pretty well, huh?" She just laughed, kissed my cheek and said, "Relax, it's nothing like that." And I believed her. Because why wouldn't I? Trust was the foundation of what we had, or at least what I thought we had. My brother and I had always had a complicated relationship. We weren't enemies, but we weren't best friends either. He was older by 2 years, more confident, more reckless. Growing up, he was the golden boy, the one who broke the rules and somehow got away with it, the one everyone gravitated toward. I was the steady one, the responsible one, the guy who kept his head down and did what needed to be done. And maybe that's why his approval of her meant so much to me. If he liked her, if he thought she was good for me, then surely she was. I never imagined he might have other reasons for being so attentive. Fast forward to that dinner. We were at my parents' house, the table set with Mom's best dishes, the smell of roast chicken filling the air. Everyone was in good spirits, laughing, passing plates, catching up on the week. And then she dropped the bomb. "I'm pregnant." My mom's eyes filled with tears instantly. "Oh, honey, that's wonderful," she cried, reaching across the table to grab her hand. Dad grinned, already launching into stories about when I was born. And me? My heart stopped, then raced, then stopped again. I should have been overjoyed. This was supposed to be the happiest moment of my life. Instead, all I could think about was the sound of my brother's fork slamming onto the plate, the look on his face, the way his hands shook as he reached for his glass of water but didn't drink. Everyone noticed. The joy in the room faltered, confusion spreading. My mom asked, "Are you okay?" He forced a smile, nodded quickly, muttered something about being surprised, but his eyes wouldn't meet mine. They wouldn't meet hers either. That reaction haunted me. All through dessert, all the way home. Lying awake in bed next to the woman who had just told me I was going to be a father. I should have been imagining baby names, nursery colors, a future bigger than myself. Instead, one question pounded in my head over and over. Why did my brother react like that? That night after dinner, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my girlfriend curled up beside me fast asleep, her breathing soft and steady like nothing in the world was wrong. But in my head, it was chaos. I couldn't stop replaying it. The way my brother's fork hit the plate, the panic in his eyes, the silence that followed. People don't react like that to good news, not unless something deeper is hiding underneath. I tried to tell myself I was overthinking, that maybe he was just shocked. Maybe he had some personal issue weighing on him. But the more I thought about it, the less it made sense. And once you start doubting, every little detail becomes fuel for suspicion. The next morning over coffee, I studied her. She was scrolling on her phone, humming, smiling to herself. She caught me staring and laughed. "What?" she asked. "You're looking at me like I've grown a second head." I shook my head, quickly. "Nothing," I said, forcing a smile. But inside a voice whispered, "What if the baby isn't mine?" That thought hit me like a punch to the gut. It was ridiculous, I told myself. We'd been together, we were happy. She had never given me a reason to doubt her. But then I remembered the little things I had brushed aside before. The way she and my brother sometimes joked together like they shared some secret, the times she laughed at his comments more than mine, the rare moments I'd walk into a room, and they'd stop talking. Back then, I chalked it up to paranoia. Now, it didn't feel so harmless. Over the next few days, I found myself watching them more closely. We all spent time together often. Family barbecues, game nights, helping. My parents around the house. And once I started paying attention, I couldn't unsee it. My brother avoided looking at me when she was around. She, on the other hand, seemed nervous when he was near. Too quick to speak. Too quick to move away like distance would erase whatever was written on her face. One night, I caught my brother alone in the garage after dinner. He was leaning against Dad's old workbench, staring at the floor. I walked in, my chest tight. "You okay?" I asked. He nodded too fast. Yeah, I'm fine." His voice cracked slightly, and he wouldn't meet my eyes. Normally he was cocky, confident, always had something smart to say. But this version of him? He looked cornered. I wanted to press him, to ask why he reacted the way he did at dinner, but the words stuck in my throat. Part of me was terrified of the answer. Instead, I just stood there in silence until he muttered something about being tired and walked past me. I watched him go, my fists clenched, my stomach turning. The doubt was eating me alive. Back home, my girlfriend seemed blissfully unaware. She talked about baby names, nursery colors, how my mom would be the perfect grandma. I nodded along, smiling when she looked at me, but the truth was, I felt like I was drowning. Every word she said felt heavier. Every laugh sounded forced. One night, when she went to take a shower, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I stared at it for a long time, my heart pounding in my ears. I had never been the kind of guy to snoop. I believed in trust. But after everything, after the way my brother looked that night, after the storm of doubts that wouldn't let me sleep, I reached for it. Just as my fingers touched the screen, the bathroom door creaked open. She stepped out wrapped in a towel, her eyes flicking to me and then to the phone. For a second, I thought I saw panic flash across her face, but then she smiled and said, "Babe, can you grab me my lotion?" Like nothing was wrong. My hand jerked back like I'd been caught stealing, and I laughed nervously. "Yeah, sure." I handed her the bottle, but my mind was racing. Why? Did she look so tense? Was it just my imagination? Or was I right to suspect? The next day I decided to test the waters. Casually, while we were driving, I asked, "So, when exactly did you find out you were pregnant?" She paused just a little, too long before answering. "A couple of weeks ago," she said, her tone light, but her grip tightening on the steering wheel. "Why?" I shrugged. "Just curious." But inside, I felt a chill. A couple of weeks ago, that was around the same time she had stayed late, helping my brother with some errands while I was working late shifts. At the time, I didn't question it. They were family. Why would I? Now, every coincidence felt like a clue. That night I sat on the porch with a beer, staring at the dark yard while my brother's reaction replayed in my head for the 1,000th time. My mom joined me, her voice soft. "You seem quiet lately." I forced a smile. "Just a lot on my mind." She patted my knee. "You're going to be a great dad," she said warmly. Her words should have comforted me. Instead, they twisted the knife. Because the truth was, I didn't know if I was going to be a dad at all. And if I wasn't, then who was? I couldn't shake the thought, no matter how much I tried to bury it. Every time I looked at her smiling, talking about baby clothes, or rubbing her stomach absent-mindedly, I felt that same pit in my gut. The question haunted me. If I wasn't the father, then who was? And every time my eyes drifted to my brother, the answer felt closer than I wanted to admit. One evening, I decided I needed clarity. She had gone to bed early, and her phone was on the nightstand again, buzzing with notifications. My heart pounded as I picked it up, my palms sweaty, my mind screaming at me that I was crossing a line I could never uncross. But then I thought of the dinner, the look on my brother's face, the hesitation in her voice, and I unlocked it. The first thing I checked were her messages with friends. Normal, nothing suspicious. But when I scrolled further, I saw his name, my brother's name. A long thread of conversations, some lighthearted, some vague, some deleted. That's what froze me. Deleted messages, gaps in conversations, timestamps that didn't add up. Why would she delete messages with my brother if there was nothing to hide? My chest tightened as I scrolled further, piecing together fragments. "Thanks for last night. Don't say anything stupid at dinner. We'll figure it out." My vision blurred, my hands trembling. I wanted to throw the phone across the room, wake her up, demand the truth right then and there. But instead, I put it down quietly, crawled into bed, and stared at the ceiling until morning, my mind screaming but my body frozen. The next day, I tried to act normal. She made breakfast, humming, talking about how Mom wanted to throw a baby shower. I nodded, forced a smile, but inside I was boiling. I needed more than vague messages. I needed proof. That evening, I stopped by my parents' house. My brother was in the garage again, tinkering with tools, pretending to be busy. I leaned against the doorframe, watching him, waiting. Finally, I said, "You acted weird the other night." He froze for half a second before laughing it off. "What are you talking about?" I stepped closer. "When she said she was pregnant. Everyone saw it." His hands fumbled with a wrench, clattering it to the floor. "I was surprised, that's all," he said too quickly, his voice thin. I wanted to press him, to grab him by the collar and make him spit it out, but instead I just stared. He wouldn't look at me, his eyes glued to the floor. That was answer. Enough. I left without another word, my heart racing, my anger simmering into something sharper, determination. Over the next week, I became a detective in my own life. I checked phone bills, pieced together timelines, replayed every excuse she had ever given me. Nights with friends that didn't add up. Times she said she was at work but wasn't. Times she helped my brother with errands. The puzzle was forming, ugly and undeniable. The breaking point came one Friday night. She said she was going to bed early again, but something about her tone felt off. I waited until her breathing steadied, then slipped into the living room. Her phone was charging on the counter. I opened it, my hand steady this time. I went straight to the photos, and there it was, a picture I will never forget. My girlfriend, smiling, her hand on her stomach, and beside her, my brother, his arm wrapped around her shoulders, his face close to hers. The timestamp? Just a week before the dinner. My blood ran cold. I sat there staring at it until the screen dimmed, my chest so tight I could barely breathe. That was it. The proof I had been dreading but knew deep down I'd find. I stumbled outside into the night air, gasping, the weight of it crashing down on me. The baby might not be mine. The woman I loved, the brother I trusted, together. Betrayal didn't even feel like a strong enough word. It felt like my whole life had been rewritten behind my back. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark, replaying everything, waiting for morning, because I knew what had to come next. The confrontation. The next morning, I couldn't hold it in any longer. My chest felt like it was on fire. My hands shook with every breath, and the photo burned in my mind like a brand I couldn't escape. I told her we needed to talk. She was in the kitchen, pouring coffee, acting like it was just another day. I sat at the table, phone in my hand, the screen glowing with the picture of her and my brother. When she turned, I slid the phone across the table. "Explain this," I said, my voice low, steady, too calm to be anything but dangerous. She froze, the color draining from her face, her hand tightening on the mug. "Where did you—" she started, then stopped, her eyes darting away. "Don't stall," I snapped. "Tell me why you're smiling with my brother, holding your stomach like you're announcing a secret together, a week before you told me I was going to be a father." Tears welled in her eyes instantly, but I didn't feel sympathy. I felt rage, betrayal, humiliation. "It's not what you think," she whispered. I slammed my fist on the table. "Then what the hell is it?" "Because it looks exactly like what I think." Before she could answer, the front door opened. My brother walked in, probably expecting to see us having breakfast, not this battlefield. His eyes fell on the phone, on her face, on mine, and in that split second I saw it. The guilt. He didn't even try to hide it. "You told him," he muttered to her, his voice shaking. That was all I needed. I stood, my chair scraping against the floor, my fists clenched. "Told me? You mean admit the truth? That you two have been sneaking around behind my back while I thought I was building a family?" My girlfriend sobbed harder, reaching out. "Please, it wasn't supposed to happen this way. I didn't mean for—" "Didn't mean for what?" I cut her off. "Didn't mean for me to find out? Didn't mean to get pregnant? Or didn't mean to fall in love with my own brother?" The words hung heavy in the air, poison dripping from every syllable. My brother stepped forward, hands raised like he could calm the storm. "It's complicated." "Complicated!" I barked out a bitter laugh. "No, it's simple. You betrayed me, both of you. While I trusted you, while I planned a future, you were building one of your own. And now there's a baby in the middle of it." The room spun as silence fell. My girlfriend cried into her hands. My brother stood pale and frozen, and I felt like the walls were closing in. Then I heard the creak of the floorboards. My mom, standing at the hallway entrance, her face horrified. "What's going on?" she asked softly, her voice breaking. My dad appeared behind her, his brow furrowed, his eyes moving between us. I hadn't even realized they'd heard everything. My brother's face collapsed, the weight of our parents' eyes crushing him. "It's true," he said finally, his voice barely above a whisper. We messed up," Mom gasped, covering her mouth, tears streaming. Dad clenched his jaw, shaking his head. "With your brother's girlfriend? Are you out of your damn mind?" The shame on my brother's face was almost unbearable to watch, but I didn't feel pity. I felt vindication. They needed to see what I had seen, hear what I had heard. The truth was out now, and there was no going back. My girlfriend tried to speak, stammering about how it was a mistake, how she still loved me, how the baby might still be mine. That word, might, snapped something inside me. "Might?" I shouted, my voice cracking. "You don't even know whose child it is. You sit at dinner, you smile, you tell me I'm going to be a father, and you don't even know if that's true." The silence that followed was suffocating. My parents looked broken, my brother hung his head, my girlfriend sobbed uncontrollably. And me? I felt hollow, like my entire life had been ripped out from under me. Finally I stepped back, my chest heaving. You know what? I'm done. With both of you. You don't deserve explanations, you don't deserve forgiveness, and you sure as hell don't deserve me. This is over. I grabbed my keys, ignoring their pleas, ignoring my mom's cries, ignoring the way my dad called my name. I walked out the door and slammed it behind me, the sound echoing in my bones. The confrontation was over, but the damage was permanent. I drove that night with no destination, just the sound of my heartbeat pounding in my ears and the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest. The streets blurred past as tears burned my eyes, not because I wanted them back, but because I couldn't believe how blind I had been. The woman I loved, the brother I trusted, they had taken the two closest bonds in my life and shattered them in one cruel blow. I parked in some empty lot, shut off the engine, and sat there in silence until the sun came up. That silence was deafening, but it was also the first time in weeks I felt clarity. There was no fixing this, no pretending it didn't happen, no version of the story where I came out still holding on to them. The only way forward was without them. The next few days were a blur of calls and messages I didn't answer. My girlfriend, no, my ex, left me voicemails filled with sobs and half apologies. Words like, "It was a mistake," and "You're still the one I want." My brother sent texts saying he didn't mean to hurt me, that it just happened, that blood was thicker than water. But here's the thing. Sometimes blood is the sharpest blade of all. I ignored them both. My parents tried to mediate at first. Mom begged me to sit down, talk it out, not to lose my family over one terrible choice. Dad, though, he saw it for what it was. He told me quietly one evening, "Son, you don't have to forgive them to move on. Sometimes the best thing you can do is protect yourself." Those words stuck with me, because for too long I had been the one protecting everyone else, protecting my girlfriend's reputation, protecting my brother's pride, protecting my family from cracks they refused to see. And where did it leave me? Alone, humiliated, broken. So I decided to do the one thing I had avoided for too long. I chose myself. I ended it clean with her. I met her one last time, face to face, and told her the truth. I can't trust you. I can't build a future with someone who destroyed my present. I hope you figure out what you really want, but it won't be with me. She cried, begged, even tried to grab my hand, but I pulled away. For once, I didn't cave. For once, I wasn't the forgiving fool. As for my brother, I didn't need words. I blocked his number, walked past him when I saw him at family gatherings, and carried on as if he were a stranger. Because that's what he became, a stranger who happened to share my blood. The fallout wasn't pretty. Holidays turned into fractured events, some relatives taking sides, whispers following me into rooms. Some said I was cruel for cutting ties, others said I was justified. But the noise didn't matter. What mattered was that I no longer allowed betrayal a seat at my table. Time passed. The pregnancy played out, and the truth of the baby's father became clear. I won't go into details, but let's just say my gut had been right all along, and when I heard the news, I didn't feel anger anymore. I felt relief that I had walked away before I wasted more of my life on lies. Relief that I wasn't bound to them by something permanent. Relief that I was free. These days, I focus on me, therapy, friends who truly have my back, hobbies I'd abandoned when my world revolved around them. It hasn't been easy, but every day I feel a little stronger, a little more myself. And if there's one thing this nightmare taught me, it's this. Betrayal doesn't define you. It reveals them. It shows you who they truly are, who never deserved your love in the first place. My girlfriend's smile, my brother's loyalty, those were masks. And when the masks slipped, I finally saw the truth. So if you've ever felt that pit in your stomach, If you've ever questioned someone's reaction and brushed it aside, listen to it. Trust yourself, because your gut knows what your heart doesn't want to admit. That dinner changed my life, forever. I lost a girlfriend. I lost a brother. But I gained something more valuable: the strength to walk away, the courage to demand honesty, and the freedom to never settle for less than the truth again.